Okay, I'm an ordained minister since yesterday morning. Yes, it's true, my children. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm ordained and that's about it. That's all I know so far. So, I don't plan on officiating anything, but I could. So, just keep that in mind and send all your money to me. Make sure that you do that. And in the words of the famous R.I.P. Dr. Scott from UCLA, Anglican Church, get on the phone. I want $1 million by the end of this week. I wonder how many of his millions went to pay horse bets. I used to watch that channel via C-band satellite, and I forgot what transponder and channel number and all that it was. But, there are sometimes horses on there for long stretches of time. And then he'd go through these phases when he wasn't getting his way. He was worse than some kid. He'd sit there and pout and just be quiet. And it would really be irritating. He's just staring at the camera, looking around. And he'd wear the funny hats all the time. Well, not really seriously funny, but that and the pipe smoking. And maybe a cigar every once in a while, I don't remember, but I sat through some pyramidology and Egyptology for several years' worth. I know, right? So I thought we'd scroll down my Facebook for a while. Oh, good decision, yeah. Well, no. I don't know. Pardon me. See, that's the thing. They've got their no-go zone. Nobody's supposed to bother them, but they can come and bother us. Sounds like a crock, doesn't it? It is a crock. Well, I really didn't have a whole lot to discuss. I already got that off my mind about the step witch, so. And sometimes I really do feel like she is just watching me. It's the creepiest feeling. I wish there was a way to prove my side of it. But my side of it's the accused side of it. Her side's all scot-free. Except for I wish someone would nail her if they had seen the info that her mother disclosed to the court that I got in the files. She pretty much just names her a pervert. Without saying she's a pervert or a deviant, she gives the instances she knows of. Well, at least maybe part of them. There's 2, 3 of those. That would be enough, wouldn't it, to cause a known deviant to not live next door to a preschool? That's kind of nuts, don't you think, of Sedalia? Are they doing another experiment and they've just got to see what will happen if they leave it go? They're supposed to be adults taking care of people in their capacity. Yet they're doing crap like that. Letting stuff slide. And like I'd mentioned before in another video, it could turn out that she'd never lay a finger on anyone else. But then again, how do we know if she will or not? Was it just a curious kid thing? If so, why didn't her mother see that side of it? Why was her mother slamming her that way? By telling those things. See what I mean? If it was no big deal, then why was her mother trying to make it into a big deal? I don't get it. I've never understood this. And they didn't want to explain it to me. I don't know what they thought they were going to do. In the couple of years it took for me to figure out to get online and try to find something out, because they were so not helpful. They're like the least helpful people you would ever want to encounter at city or county level, anywhere. No answers, defensive, retaliatory, mean-spirited. What's a person to do with, having the answers? I didn't know to boot up. I didn't have anything to boot up on. We had Duck Hunt. My sister had gotten an old computer, and then when they got a good one, a store-bought one, they gave a set that they had for years that the kids would color on, do the coloring program or play games or whatever. And so we had that with Duck Hunt. We didn't have online internet. Are you kidding me? When I got that in 97, I began my task of trying to get help for my situation. I didn't want my son to have to grow up without a dad. And part of the time I think they did it to get even with me, and part of the time I think they did it to get even with John. Because he had been an LDS priest, had LDS priesthood. And he joined the East Sedalia Baptist Church, where I grew up and was my church home. And you know how they are. When you leave their church, you become an apostate, or you become apostate. You're ostracized. They do all kinds of mean things to people that leave their church. That's what it is to them. The same thing is what I think about happened with our print shop. It couldn't have been all that we were late with rent, because John had taken the rent money and put it on the utilities. And I've told this story before too. He had gone up to see the guy, the father, husband. They had gone off to Kansas City and left the kids there, and they were trying to cook a frozen store-bought pizza in their freestanding fireplace. So instead of paying the rent, he went and paid the shut-off notice, which wasn't even his job. because they lived there. They were to pay the utilities. Okay? So I was sick one day and stayed home. He came home for lunch, or came home for lunch, left, of course, to go back to work, and came back shortly after. I'm like, why? Why? What's wrong? Why are you back? Well, it wasn't to check on me at that point. It was because he had gotten locked out while he was at home for lunch with me. They had changed the locks. So you see, and they were all LDS, Latter-day Saints. And the judge in that town, a Latter-day Saint, well, one of the judges. And that was his friend. Even the people that we got the print shop from via my mom for a wedding present were his friends. He had known them for years when he was married to number 2 wife Nancy. So now I'm creeped out all the time because it's kind of like I can feel his daughter looking at me. And she's not all that to look at, for one thing, but she's been caused to think that she is all that to look at. And she's kind of ditzy. She's real ditzy. Just like I explained in the previous video. What was her excuse? Because I don't know if you watched my videos or not, so I'll tell you again. When we went out of town quite often to shop, and were gone something like 4 hours each time, and it was a 40-mile round trip, why wasn't she at one of the places I described in that neighborhood? Mrs. Cook's house, her friend, the friend next door, which was, what do you call it, a dispatcher for the police department, and the daughter was her friend. They met at school, they met at school. The church, the senior center, the post office. What was her excuse? And even further, when she was taken off the school grounds that day in '95, clear to Marshall, Missouri, 32 miles north, and brought back and dropped off at school, and she got on that bus, and she rode the bus home, and she walked in that front door. Why wasn't she thinking, I'm not going back in there? There's a mad and crazy 2,100-time rapist in there. And why did those 2 social workers, well, one social worker and the juvie officer, allow her to? They had just taken her report. They're letting her go back there. If it was nothing to believe to begin with, then why did they believe it later enough to put him away? So you see, these crackers just do not stack. I'm telling you. Thanks for watching.